Okay, properly setting your belt tension on your motorcycle, you're going to need a belt tension gauge. Now you're going to see two marks on here with two O-rings. We have a small O-ring on this end, and you'll see this has 0 and 10 written on it. That is 10 foot-pounds. Then on this end, you'll see a measuring tape with a large O-ring. This is to slide the O-ring for a mark to measure your deflection. So on this particular Harley, we need 3/8 to 9/16 deflection while applying 10 pounds of force. So I can set this where I need it, find a reference point on the bike, and when this tool's on the bike, it's going to start here, and as I press up on the tool, the whole tool's going to move. So I'll know how far my deflection is as this plunger is also moving. So I'm going to set this O-ring at 0, and I'm going to press up on the belt until I hit the 10. And while doing that, I'm going to be watching how far this is moving until it hits my reference point. Now this particular tool is set to just 10 pounds of force. If you want to know more about this tool, there are other videos on YouTube that will massively overcomplicate this, tell you all the science, get out calculators, pens, paper, and everything else, and you'll wish you'd have never looked at it. This is the very quick skinny on how this works and how to use it. So let's get started. Now we just talked about the deflection on our tool. We don't need to pay attention to the measuring tape on our tool because this Harley already has increments written on the belt guard here. And each of these spots is 1/8 of an inch. So again, we need 3/8 to 9/16 deflection at 10 pounds of force. So we're gonna press our plunger up on the belt until we hit that 10-pound mark. And while we do that, we're gonna measure how much deflection there is there until we get to what we need. So to get started, first thing you want to do is remove your saddlebags and anything else you might need out of the way. And you want to remove the seat clip that's on here and loosen this axle nut and then retighten it back down to 20 foot-pounds. Do not over-tighten this. If you don't put it to 20 foot-pounds, this side's going to be too tight, and as we adjust the other side, only that side's going to move, and it's going to put the tire on the bike crooked because this side won't be moving. So we want to make sure the tire's on there straight. The other thing is make sure both of your adjustment cams are mating up to the frame right here. We don't want a gap on one side and not on the other. So torque it down to 20 foot-pounds, and then that'll be loose enough that both adjustment cams move together, properly aligning the tire as we adjust the belt tension. Now as you just saw, we have a lot of play in that belt, so the first thing we're going to do is tighten this down. And this adjustment cam is welded to the axle. So as we turn this, if you did your proper tension on the other side of the bike, which is loosen up that nut and then torque it down to 20 foot-pounds, then we'll be able to move both sides at the same time. And as this cam rotates, it's pulling the wheel back, tightening the belt. And you see it moving back there. Okay, so now that we've kind of blindly given that an adjustment, let's see where we're at and we'll fine tune it from there. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the tool on the belt and I'm going to press up on the bottom of the plunger until we hit that 10 foot-pound mark. And we're going to measure our deflection using the built-in gauge on the Harley. So hopefully you can see this clearly as I hold the camera with one hand and the tool with the other. Let's get a reference point there. Let's measure 1, 2, 3, 4. We're at about 5/8 when we hit the 10 foot-pound mark on the gauge. So that definitely needs tightened up a bit more. Now let's give it another go. And now we're only moving not quite 2/8 when we hit 10, so I've over tightened it, so I need to loosen it up a little bit. 1, 2, 3, and that's perfect. We're at 3/8 deflection, hitting 10 foot-pounds of force on the gauge. Now if you had the other side properly torqued to 20 foot-pound, that other adjustment cam should be in the same orientation as this one. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, make sure we did that properly. Yep, that looks perfect. The adjustment cam is touching the frame and it's in the same orientation. So now we can go ahead and do our final torque pass, which is going to be 95 foot-pounds on this axle nut. I really hope this video helped you out. If it did, please hit it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Always more Harley stuff coming. And as always, I will put the tools and links to where to buy them in the video description below. Really appreciate you watching, and I thank you for the support.